The rain hammered the van's roof like 1,000 unspoken accusations, each drop echoing the frantic beat of my heart as I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles bleached white. Elias's voice cut through the storm, soft yet unyielding. "Bennett, if you drive away now, you'll never look back, but what if this is the road you've been avoiding your whole life?" In that suspended moment, with the wipers slashing futilely against the downpour, I confessed the truth I'd buried deeper than my father's grave. I was in love with a man, and it was him. That confession hung in the air like smoke from a dying fire, thick and choking, as the van idled on the outskirts of Seattle's bustling waterfront. It was October 2015, and the city lights smeared into watery halos through the windshield, mocking the clarity I so desperately craved. Elias didn't flinch. His hand, warm and steady, covered mine on the wheel, and in his eyes, those deep hazel pools framed by glasses perpetually slipping down his nose, I saw not judgment, but a mirror of my own hidden fractures. "I've known since the day you walked into my office," he said, his voice a low rumble that drowned out the storm. "And I've been waiting for you to say it." I was 32 then, a freelance graphic designer scraping by in a one-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill, the kind of place where the walls were thin enough to hear your neighbor's heartbreaks. Bennett Hayes, that was me, the all-American boy from a small town in Oregon, raised on church picnics and the firm handshake of a father who believed men fixed things with their hands, not their hearts. My mom had passed when I was 12, leaving Dad to raise me and my sister alone, pounding into us the gospel of hard work and straight lines, straight roads, straight jobs, straight lives. I'd followed that script faithfully. College at the University of Washington, a string of girlfriends who smiled too brightly in photos, a career that let me hide behind screens and pixels. But the script had cracks, widening with every stolen glance at a man's broad shoulders in a coffee shop line. Every nightmare where I dreamed of hands that felt like home but belonged to someone society deemed wrong. Elias Grant entered my life 6 months earlier, in the sterile fluorescence of his law office downtown. I was there for a custody battle, nothing dramatic. Just my ex-girlfriend Sarah trying to leverage our failed engagement into sole rights to our shared dog, Max. But it was more than that. It was the unraveling of the life I'd built on sand. Sarah had sensed my distance, the way I'd pull away in bed, my mind wandering to places she couldn't follow. "You're not all here, Ben," she'd said one night, her voice cracking like thin ice. And she was right. The van that day wasn't just a getaway vehicle. It was our sanctuary after a tense mediation session that had left me raw, driving aimlessly until Elias suggested we pull over to breathe. He was 35, a civil rights attorney with a practice focused on LGBTQ+ cases, though he'd never advertised it loudly in a city still shedding its conservative skin. Born and raised in Seattle's Central District, Elias carried the weight of his heritage like a badge, his father a retired postal worker, his mother a schoolteacher who'd marched in the 60s for equality that extended beyond skin color. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with skin like polished mahogany and a smile that could disarm a jury. But beneath that polish was a man who'd lost his own brother to conversion therapy in the Bible Belt, a loss that fueled his quiet fire. We'd clicked from the start, our consultations stretching beyond legal advice into late-night emails about art exhibits and bad sci-fi movies. He knew my sketches, the ones I hid in drawers, depicting figures entwined in ways that blurred genders. And I knew his pauses, the way he'd linger on a photo of 2 men holding hands at a pride rally, his voice trailing off as if remembering a love he'd let slip away. As the rain eased to a drizzle, I pulled the van into a deserted lot by the docks, the Puget Sound lapping darkly against the pilings like a forgotten promise. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" I asked, my throat tight with the fear of exposure. Elias leaned back, his head against the fogged window, and let out a breath that fogged the air further. Because truths like ours aren't shouted. They're whispered until they're strong enough to roar. And yours? Benedevi, you've been whispering it so long. I thought you'd forgotten how to speak. We talked until the sky bruised purple with twilight, unraveling threads of our lives like a shared tapestry. He told me about Jamal, his college sweetheart, lost to a family ultimatum and the bottle that followed. I believed in justice then, Elias said, his fingers tracing the seam of the van's upholstery. But love, that was the verdict I couldn't win. I shared fragments of my own ghosts, the high school crush on my best friend Tyler. Dismissed as just boys being boys until Tyler came out and vanished from our town, leaving me with a hollow ache I mistook for guilt. Dad's sermons on Sundays, thundering about abominations, while I sat in the pew, praying for straightness that never came. Sarah had been my anchor, or so I told myself. But she was a life vest in a storm I wasn't ready to name. By the time we drove back, the city humming alive with neon and chatter. Something had shifted. Not a dam breaking, but a crack widening, letting light seep in. Elias's hand brushed mine as he handed over his keys' spare set. For emergencies, he said with a wink that sent heat coiling low in my gut. I didn't pull away. That night, alone in my apartment, Max curled at my feet. I pulled out my sketch pad for the first time in months. The lines flowed differently, bolder, curved with intention. A figure emerging that looked suspiciously like Elias, his eyes holding secrets I now shared. The weeks that followed were a tentative dance. Our client attorney, lunches evolving into walks along the waterfront, where the salt air carried whispers of possibility. Elias introduced me to his world gently, a quiet coffee shop in the neighborhood. Walls lined with rainbow flags faded from too many Junes. There, over black coffee and scones, he shared stories of clients who'd found their footing after falls like mine, marriages forged in fire, adoptions that defied odds. It's not about labels, he said one afternoon, as gulls wheeled overhead. It's about claiming the space you were born to occupy. I nodded. But inside, doubt gnawed. What about Dad, now frail in his Oregon nursing home, clinging to crosses and convictions? What about the family reunions where aunts still asked when I'd settled down? My first real test came at Thanksgiving. Sarah had backed off the custody fight, thanks to Elias's sharp negotiations. But the victory tasted bittersweet. I drove south alone, the van loaded with pies and pretense. Max's head out the window like a flag of normalcy. Dad's eyes, milky with age, lit up at my arrival, but over turkey and cranberry. His voice turned gravelly. Heard about that lawyer of yours, Ben. Folks say he's one of those activists. The room froze, silverware clinking like accusations. I forced a laugh, but my pulse thundered. He's good at his job, Dad. That's all. Later, in the guest room, I texted Elias, missed you tonight. Felt like lying to ghosts. His reply came swift, ghosts can't touch the living. Come back to me. That pull drew me north again. And on a crisp December evening, under the twinkle of holiday lights strung across Pike Place Market, I kissed him. It was clumsy, born of impulse as snow flurried down. But his lips were soft, tasting of peppermint and promise. We broke apart laughing, breathless, the world blurring into irrelevance. This is real, I whispered, my hand in his. Elias squeezed, his thumb tracing my knuckles. Real as the rain that started it all. But reality has teeth. January brought Elias's biggest case yet, defending a trans teen against the school's conversion mandate. A battle that splashed across local news. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse, signs screaming, "Protect our children." Their chants a venomous undercurrent to the city's progressive veneer. Elias stood tall in his suit, voice steady in arguments that peeled back layers of hypocrisy. But I saw the toll the late nights pouring over precedents. The way he'd rub his temples until dawn. I was there for the verdict, acquittal. A small victory in a war far from over. As confetti rained in the courtroom, he pulled me into a side hallway, his forehead against mine. "We did it," he murmured, but his eyes held shadows. They called me every name in the book out there. That night, in the van parked high on Queen and Hill, overlooking the glittering bay, the shadows deepened. Elias confessed his punitive loss, but of dragging me into the fray. "You're just starting to breathe, Ben. I don't want my battles to suffocate you." I thought of Dad's words. The protesters' hate. My own buried doubts resurfacing like weeds. "We're in this van together," I said, echoing our first night. Storms and all. Spring unfurled like a hesitant bloom. And with it, our rhythm solidified. Mornings in Elias's loft apartment. Sunlight slanting through blinds as we shared coffee and case files, mine now, including pro bono sketches for his nonprofit. Afternoons sketching in Discovery Park, where cherry blossoms carpeted the paths. And we'd talk dreams, a gallery show for me, a foundation for him. But the idol cracked in April, when Dad's health plummeted. A stroke, the doctor said, leaving him half paralyzed and fully furious. I flew down, Elias offering to come. But I went alone. The van's engine a lonely growl on I-5. In the hospital room, tubes snaking like accusations. Dad gripped my hand with his good one. "Promise me, son," he rasped, eyes fierce despite the weakness. "Promise you'll live right. Find a good woman. Give me grandkids." The words landed like blows, each one excavating the boy I'd been. I nodded, throat burning. But as I drove back under starless skies, tears blurred the road. Elias waited at the airport, arms open, but I pulled away. "I can't." I choked out in the terminal shadows. "Not yet. It's too much." The fracture widened over weeks of silence. My sketches turning angular, jagged with unresolved lines. Elias gave space. His texts gentle probes, "Thinking of you. Rain stopped sun tomorrow." But guilt festered, a poison I mistook for virtue. Sarah reached out then, her voice tentative over the phone. "Ben, I saw the news about your dad. If you need anything." It was kindness, or pity, but it stirred old habits. We met for coffee, her eyes searching mine as she spoke of moving on, finding peace in therapy. "You deserve that too," she said. I almost confessed everything, but the word stuck, a secret too heavy for neutral ground. By June, Pride Month painted the city in rainbows, a cacophony of floats and cheers down Broadway. Elias invited me to march with his team, but I demurred, citing work. Instead, I wandered the fringes, watching from afar as he waved from a float, his laugh carrying over the crowd. That night, alone with Max, the apartment felt like a cage. I scrolled old photos Dad at my graduation, Tyler's faded yearbook, smile, and wept for the man I couldn't be. The turning point came in July. Sweltering heat wave turning Seattle into a steam bath. Dad rallied enough for discharge, back to his Oregon home with a nurse and a Bible thicker than his grudges. I visited, armed with resolve this time. As we sat on his porch, hummingbirds darting at feeders, I broached it sideways. "Dad, what if love looks different than you thought? What if it's not about who, but how deep?" He stared at the mountains, jaw set. "God's got a plan. Ben, deviate, and you fall." But his voice wavered, and for the first time, I saw not stone, but a man cracked by his own losses, mom's death, my absence. Driving north, the van's AC sputtering, I called Elias. Meet me at the docks. His yes was immediate. And there, under a harvest moon rising fat over the sound, I laid it bare, the guilt, the fear, the love that terrified me most because it felt like home. He listened, then pulled a faded photo from his wallet. Him and Jamal at their first pride, arms linked defiantly. I ran once, he said. Won't again. But you decide your road. We rebuilt from there, brick by tentative brick. August brought my first gallery submission. Elias critiquing over takeout Thai, his pride brighter than the string lights we hung on his balcony. September saw Dad's first concession, a halting phone call. Heard you're happy. Son, that's something. Not acceptance, but a door ajar. By October 2016, a year after the van, we stood on that same rainy street, now dry under autumn sun. Elias proposed not with rings, but with a keychain etched our road, dangling from his finger. No more secrets, he said. I said yes, tears mixing with laughter. And as we drove into the future, the van humming steady, I knew beliefs weren't shattered that day, but reshaped. Stronger, truer, woven from two lives daring to intersect. The year blurred into a mosaic of firsts, each one a brushstroke adding color to the grayscale of my past. Our first trip together was to the Oregon coast in November. The van packed with blankets and bad playlists. Elias belting out 90s R&B while I navigated hairpin turns along Highway 101. We'd stop at driftwood-strewn beaches, toes buried in cold sand, and talk about futures that once seemed impossible. Imagine this, he'd say, sketching hearts in the foam. Us, old and gray, still arguing over who hogs the covers. I'd laugh, but the image lodged deep, a seed of permanence in soil I'd long thought barren. Back in Seattle, life wove us tighter. I took on more design gigs for queer nonprofits, my portfolio blooming with posters of intertwined hands against stormy skies, subtle nods to our origin story. Elias's practice expanded, a new associate joining to handle the influx of cases post-Obergefell. The Supreme Court's marriage equality ruling a tidal wave that lifted some boats while capsizing others. We celebrated that June with a quiet ceremony at City Hall. Just us. Max's witness. Rings, simple silver bands engraved with coordinates of our van confessional. No fanfare, but the weight of it anchored me. Yet anchors dragged too. Dad's health stabilized, but his silences grew pointed during calls. Church groups praying for you, Ben, he'd say, voice laced with concern that cut like kindness. I bit back retorts, focusing instead on small bridges, sending photos of Max in a tiny rainbow bandana, sharing stories of Elias's latest win without the labels. Elias understood. His own family a patchwork of acceptance. His sister, a barista in Tacoma, who'd grilled him over brunch. This Bennett better treat you right, or I'll spike his latte. Her hug at our housewarming, really just IKEA furniture assembly, felt like absolution. Winter 2017 brought the first real storm. A client of Elias's, a young non-binary artist named Riley, faced eviction after their landlord discovered their identity via social media. The case dragged into February. Depositions revealing ugly undercurrents of bias masked as policy. Elias burned the midnight oil, his loft a warren of legal pads and empty mugs. I'd find him at dawn, slumped over the kitchen table. Glasses ask you. This system's rigged. He'd mutter. But we keep swinging. One night, after a particularly brutal hearing where the judge sided with the landlord, he snapped prayer for him pushing away my offered dinner. You don't get it, Ben. This isn't sketches and coffee. It's lives. His words stung, reopening old wounds. I retreated to my studio, brushes flying in fury, painting abstracts of fractured glass and shadowed figures. Was I naive, thinking love could insulate us? Sarah texted sporadically. Updates on her new life in Portland, engaged to a teacher. Expecting. Her happiness mirrored mine in ways that haunted had I hurt her as much as I feared hurting Dad. In a weak moment, I met her for lunch. The van idling outside a cafe like a guilty accomplice. You look free, she said, stirring her soup. I confessed fragments, not the whole. But enough. I was lost. Sarah. Figuring it out now. She smiled. Genuine. Good. You deserve the map. That conversation propelled me back to Elias. Armed with vulnerability. We talked for hours on the balcony. City lights winking below. His head on my shoulder. I'm scared too. I admitted. Of losing you to this fight. Or me to my ghosts. He kissed my temple. Then we fight together. No solos. Spring thawed more than the weather. Riley won their case on appeal. A precedent that rippled through tenant rights circles. Elias and I volunteered at a youth center in Capitol Hill, where teens like Riley gathered kids with stories that echoed mine, but amplified by today's headlines. I led art workshops, teaching them to channel pain into pigment, watching eyes light up as lines connected. One boy, 16 and freshly out, showed me a drawing of two silhouettes in a storm, whispering, like you and your guy. Pride swelled, mingled with ache for the kid I'd been. Summer 2017 tested that pride. Dad's church hosted a family values conference. Flyers decrying the gay agenda landing in my inbox via well-meaning cousins. He didn't endorse, but his attendance spoke volumes. I drove down unannounced, the van's tires humming with resolve. We walked his backyard, apple trees heavy with fruit, and I laid it out, Dad. Eliash my family now. Not instead of you, but with. Can you meet me there? Tears tracked his weathered cheeks. I raised you to be strong. Son. Loving like this. It's the hardest strength I know. Not full embrace, but as steep a hug that lingered. His whisper, bring him next time. Elias came that fall. Thanksgiving redone with tentative grace. Over pie. Dad grilled him on football, Elias's knowledge spotty but earnest. And by evening's end, they bonded over old war stories, Dad's Vietnam scars. Elias's family tales. Max, ever the diplomat, sprawled between them. Driving back, rain slicking the windshield. Elias squeezed my thigh. Your dad's a tough critic. I like him. Laughter bubbled, easing the knot in my chest. But 2018 dawned with national tremors. The political climate shifted. Rights under siege, bathroom bills. Adoption bans fueling Elias's caseload to breaking. Protests turned volatile. One evening, he came home with a bruised rib from a counter-demonstrator's shove. Just a misunderstanding. He downplayed, but I saw the flinch. Rage boiled in me, unfamiliar and fierce. I channeled it into action, organizing a fundraiser art show. Shadows to light. Proceeds to his firm. The gallery buzzed that night. Donors mingling with survivors. My pieces on walls like beacons. Elias's toast to the artists who map our hearts drew cheers. His eyes locking on mine across the room. Love a quiet roar. Yet crack spiderwebbed. My career surged, a book deal for an illustrated memoir on queer awakening, but deadlines clashed with Elias's trials. Arguments flared over forgotten anniversaries. My resentment at his absences masking fear of abandonment. One February night, after he missed my signing, I lashed out. Am I just your safe harbor? Or do I get to be the storm too? He recoiled, hurt flashing. You're everything. But this fight, it's us. Ben. All of us. We slept apart. The betachasm. Reconciliation came in March. A weekend retreat to the San Juans. Ferry rocking on choppy waters. Van ferried aboard. We hiked mossy trails, words tumbling like waterfalls. I need you whole, I said, hands clasped under evergreens. Not martyr. He nodded, promising Balenciaga a new paralegal to lighten loads. Back home, we recommitted, date nights enforced, therapy sessions joint, unpacking baggage from boyhoods spent hiding. Summer bloomed fuller then. Pride, 2018. We marched hand in hand. Dad sending a text, saw the coverage. Proud. In my way? His church shifted too. A progressive pastor inviting dialogue. Elias and I attended a panel. Voices steady as we shared our van story. Audience nods a chorus of kinship. August. I proposed back a custom sketch of our hands intertwined, framed with "Forever's our verdict." His yes, tear-choked, sealed it. Fall 2018 brought harvest, my book launch. Elias's foundation grant. A trip east to meet his extended family in D.C., where cousins toasted the power couple. But winter whispered warnings. Dad's cough turned chronic. Doctors murmuring stage 2. The call came Christmas Eve. Van skidding south through sleet. Hospital vigils blurred. Elias by my side, holding space as monitors beeped elegies. Dad rallied briefly, gripping our hands. You too. You're good. Better than I dreamed. His peace. Hard won. A gift. He passed in January 2019. Funeral, a blend of hymns and heartfelt toasts, cousins sharing stories of the man who'd quietly donated to food banks. Unaware his son marched for love's rights. In the cemetery, under drizzling skies, Elias whispered, "He saw you, Ben." Truly, grief hollowed me, but love filled the spaces. Our bond a bulwark. Spring 2019. We adopted not a child, but a rescue pup named Echo, sibling to Max. Therapy deepened, unearthing my imposter syndrome, Elias's survivor's guilt. Summer saw us mentoring at the youth center. Stories circling back, the boy from my workshop, now thriving, gifting me a drawing echo of mine. Pride that year. We let afloat, rain holding off as if in benediction. By fall, with Echo and Max tumbling in the yard, life settled into rhythmic dance of cases. Canvases. Quiet evenings with wine and what-ifs turned real. The van, retired to storage, became legend, our origin. Elias joked, but his eyes held reverence. 2020 loomed. Pandemics and protests on horizons. But we faced it, braced, secrets shared, beliefs forged in fire. Love the unyielding thread. 2020 crashed in like a rogue wave. The world contracting under invisible threats. Seattle locked down in March. Our loft a cocoon of video calls and vanishing deadlines. Elias's courtrooms went virtual, screens filtering justice into pixels, while my illustrations shifted to digital advocacy posters for mutual aid, shared on social feeds that buzzed with Black Lives Matter urgency. We adapted, baking sourdough and binging documentaries. But isolation amplified echoes, my grief for Dad fresh. Elias's memories of Jamal sharpened by loss headlines. One April evening, as cherry blossoms wilted unseen outside, Elias paced, phone glued to ear. A client, an elderly gay couple denied hospital visitation rights amid COVID chaos. Their plea a gut punch. It's 2020. He fumed, tossing the device. And we're still begging for humanity. I pulled him down, our foreheads touching. Then fight from here. We'll amplify. That night, we launched a podcast, Verdicts of the Heart, interviews with queer elders. Their stories streamed to living rooms worldwide. Listeners poured in. Messages a lifeline. You gave my dad a voice. Summer scorched with reckonings. Protests erupted after George Floyd's murder. Seattle streets a mosaic of fury and solidarity. Elias joined medics on the front lines, documenting police overreach for lawsuits, returning with tear gas sting in his eyes. I couldn't stand idle. Sketching protest scenes. I sold prints for bail funds. The van towed out for the first time in years ferrying supplies to CHOP, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. There, amid barricades and bonfires, we volunteered, Elias advising on rights, me facilitating art circles where kids drew dreams of justice. But the zone's euphoria curdled. July raids scattered the dream. Rubber bullets whizzing as we hunkered in the van. Hearts pounding. Elias shielded a teen activist, taking a graze to the arm. In the ER. Stitches fresh. He grinned through pain. Worth it. Rage and fear Warden Malov's cost too high. That night, wrapped in bandages and each other, I confessed, I almost lost you today. His kiss was fierce. You saved me first, pulling me back when I charge. We vowed boundaries, no more front lines alone. Fall brought fractures. My book tour canceled. Royalties dried. Freelance gigs sparse. Elias's firm teetered. Grants delayed by bureaucracy. Arguments simmered over money. Over my safe sketches versus his risky cases. October. A leaked email from a conservative donor threatened his funding. No more supporting deviants. He spiraled, doubting his path. Am I helping? Or just bleeding out? I countered with data cases 1. Lives touched but words fell flat. In therapy, we unpacked my scarcity mindset from dad's frugality, his hero complex from brother's loss. November elections loomed like storm clouds. Results a bitter divide. We watched returns in silence. Champagne corked. Biden's win sparked cautious hope. But local losses stung trans bills passing in neighboring states. Elias threw into a new suit, challenging Idaho's sports ban for trans athletes. Prep consumed him. Our anniversary dinner microwaved. Hurt. I retreated to the studio. Painting a series, Vanished Roads. Vignettes of erased identities. A gallery picked it up. Opening virtual but visceral. 2021 dawned with vaccines and variants. A stutter step toward normal. Echo and Max provided comic relief. Zoom eyes turning to chases around the loft. We fostered a kitten. Whiskers. The loft alive with paws and purrs. Spring saw Elias's case make headlines. Oral arguments streamed live. I watched from home, heart in throat as he dismantled myths with facts and fire. Victory injunction granted unleashed cheers. Virtual toast with the team. To Elias. The unyielding. They said. He pulled me close post-call. To us. The foundation. But personal tides turned. Sarah visited in May. En route from Portland with her toddler in tow. Over park picnic masks dangling reminisced. Her life a parallel track. You were always searching, she said, bouncing the baby. Glad you found your compass. No regrets. Just closure. A chapter sealed with hugs. Summer 2021. We road tripped the van south. Masks optional. To Oregon's wilds. Campfires crackled stories. Elias's childhood hikes with Dad. My boyhood beaches with Tyler's ghost. At Crater Lake. Under star-drenched skies. We renewed vows informal. But sacred rings glinting as we promised adaptability. Through plagues and protests. I said. He laughed. And puppy chaos. Fall brought expansion. My series sold out. Funding a studio space in Pioneer Square. Elias hired a second associate. Easing loads. We mentored a cohort at the youth center. Hybrid sessions blending pixels and presence. One mentee. Alexa trans kid from rural Washington shared. Your podcast got me through coming out. Pride swelled. A cycle completing. Winter 2021 to 22 tested resilience. Omicron surged. A client lost to the Veruzian elder from our podcast. His last words, Tell them I loved fiercely. Grief communal. We hosted a memorial stream. Voices weaving eulogies. Personally. Whiskers fell ill. Vet bill straining. But community crowd-funded proof of NetSuite cast. 2022 bloomed defiant. Elias's foundation partnered with national orgs. Cases stacking wins. My memoir sequel commissioned. Weaving our van tale with broader arcs. Spring. We bought a house in Fremont Trollbridge Views. Yard for the menagerie. Moving day. Then hauling boxes. Felt like destiny's full circle. Summer protests evolved. Focused on voting rights. We canvassed door to door. Elias's charm disarming skeptics. My sketches leaving seeds. Pride 2022. Post-row overturned shadows. We marched for intersectional joy. Rainbows undimmed. Fall. Dad's anniversary. We visited his grave. Elias placing a stone etched loved. Peace settled. Winter holidays. Family fused Elias's kin via video. Sarah's invite for New Year's. 2023 accelerated. My book dropped. Bestseller in LGBTQ plus lit. Tours hybrid. Elias keynote deck glad. Voice booming. We adopted Alex as a chosen kin. Sponsoring their art school. Challenges persisted book bans targeting my work. A client backlash but unity fortified. By 2024. A decade post-van. We'd authored a joint graphic novel, Roads Unpaved. Chronicling queer journeys. Launch in Seattle. Full circle. Drew crowds Riley. Now thriving. The podcast elders families. Even a letter from Tyler. Reconnected. Your courage lit my way back. 2025. Current Gale's AI ethics clashing with advocacy. Climate marches intersecting we stand ready. The van. Restored. Sits in the garage. A relic of revelation. Our secret. No longer hidden. But heralded. Beliefs evolved, not shattered. But shared. A testament that love, in all its forms, rewrites the map. Yet even as the years layered like sedimentary rock, pressing our story into something enduring, the undercurrents of doubt never fully stilled. It was late spring 2025, the kind of Seattle day where the sun fights through persistent clouds, casting a golden haze over Elliott Bay. Elias and I had just returned from a weekend in the Cascades. The van's odometer ticking higher with each escape we carved out. At 37 and 40, we were no longer the tentative figures of that rainy night. Lines etched our faces like roadmap scars, but our hands still fit with the ease of well-worn gloves. The prompt for this chapter of our lives came unexpectedly, a call from Elias's sister, Lena, in Tacoma. Family reunion, she announced over speaker, her voice crackling with excitement. Mom's turning 70, and it's time everyone meets everyone. Elias's eyes met mine across the kitchen island. A silent question. His family had embraced me piecemeal dinners. Holidays but a full gathering. That meant uncles with old-school views. Cousins who'd ribbed him in youth about bringing home a stray. I nodded. Heart quickening. We're in. Prep became ritual, me sketching place cards with whimsical trolls, nod to our Fremont home. Elias grilling Lena on guest lists. Uncle Ray's coming. She warned. You know, the one who quotes Leviticus at barbecues. Elias chuckled, but tension coiled in his shoulders. I knew that coil. It mirrored my own post-dad reflexes. The impulse to dim our light for comfort. The drive to Tacoma was a prelude. Van humming along I-5. Echo and Max in crates. Whiskers in a carrier mewling protest. We played our road trip mix from that first awkward playlist to now. Layered with our shared anthems, true colors for vulnerability. Fight song for fire. Elias's hand found my knee at a rest stop. Squeezing. Whatever happens, we're the story they envy. His words. A talisman. The reunion sprawled across Lena's backyard. A riot of laughter and grill smoke under string lights. Mom Grant, silver-coiled and sharp-eyed, enveloped us in hugs scented with lavender. My boys, she beamed, pinning boutonnieres rainbow, threads woven in. Cousins swarmed, kids tugging at our legs for troll tales. The air thick with potato salad and possibility. Uncle Ray arrived fashionably late. His handshake firm, eyes appraising. Over beers. He cornered Elias. Heard you're still crusading. Good work. But don't forget family values. Elias smiled. Steel beneath silk. Family's exactly why. Uncle. Love expands the table. I hovered nearby, sketching candids on a napkin, Ray's furrowed brow softening as a niece dragged him to dance. Later, by the fire pit, Ray sidled up. Your man's got spine. Reminds me of my brother lost too soon to his secrets. The admission. Gruff. Cracked open dialogue. Stories of hidden loves in their generation. Regrets aired like smoke. Night deepened. Stars pricking the canopy. And we slow danced to Motown. Elias's chin on my shoulder. See. We rewrite scripts. Joy bubbled. But dawn brought a curveball, a call from the youth center. Alex, our mentee, in crisis, kicked out after a family blow-up over their transition. Need you? The director urged. We pivoted. Van pointed north. Reunion cut short, but hearts full. Alex waited on the steps. Duffel clutched. Eyes red-rimmed. They said I'm not their kid anymore. Elias knelt. Voice steady. You're ours now. Let's build from here. We ferried them home. Our Fremont spare room prepped with fresh linens and art supplies. That week blurred into nest building, therapy referrals, job hunts, late-night talks over cocoa. Alex's sketches bloomed fierce florals, symbolizing rebirth, and in them, I saw my younger self, given grace. Summer 2025 intensified. My graphic novel tour hit the road. Elias tagging for East Coast legs. Van traded for flights, but spirit intact. In New York, a signing drew protesters' book banners decrying indoctrination. Chants outside. But inside, fans shared tattoos of my lines. Elders weeping over representations long denied. Elias, ever the shield, liaised with security, then pulled me backstage. Their noise. Just wind. Your words are the gale. Back west, his foundation's annual gala shone, auctioning my originals, raising record funds. Alex emceed a youth panel, voice quavering then soaring. These men showed me home isn't a place, it's people. Applause thundered, our eyes meeting across the ballroom. Pride a shared pulse. But August storms brewed personal. Elias's annual checkup revealed high blood pressure, stress's toll. Doctor warned. Slow down, she advised. He waved it off. But I saw the flicker, mortality's shadow, echoing his brother's fate. We recommitted to wellness hikes in Green Lake, yoga streams, date nights, sans devices. One evening, paddle boarding on Lake Union. Sunset bleeding pink. He admitted, scared I'll burn out before we're old. I steadied his board. Then we bank embers now. For the long burn. Fall harvested abundance. Alex enrolled in community college. First semester funded by gala proceeds. Our podcast hit 100 episodes. Guests from trans legislators to queer scientists. Downloads global. Dad's Foundation Meet Quiet Tribute granted scholarships. First recipient a kid from Oregon reminiscent of me. Thanksgiving fused traditions. Mom grants mac and cheese alongside my pie. Lena's kids quizzing Alex on art. Uncle Ray called. Post-dinner. Missed you all. Ray Jr. S. asking about prides and resources. Progress. Incremental. Winter 2025 whispered wonders. Holiday lights twinkled as we hosted a chosen family solstice. Tables groaning with dishes from every heritage. Gifts exchanged. Elias's leather-bound journal for my musings. My custom watch engraved, Time's our ally. New Year's. On our balcony. Fireworks blooming. We toasted to roads untraveled. But ours. 2026 dawned with dreams deferred no more. Elias scaled back cases. Consulting more. Writing a memoir on legal love. I opened a studio collective. Queer artists collaborating. Alex thrived. Interning with us. A trinity of legacy. Challenges lingered, national rollbacks. Personal aches like Max's twilight years. Slowing but soulful. Yet each tested us gentler. Bonds tempered. The van. Occasional joyride. Reminded, secrets birth strength. In this tapestry, woven decade deep, we believed anew, change isn't cataclysm, but communion. Love. The ultimate verdict. Acquits us all. As the calendar flipped to 2026, our lives unfolded like a well-loved book. Pages dog-eared but cherished. Each chapter revealing deeper hues of resilience and revelation. Fremont's Troll Bridge loomed friendly now. A guardian under which we'd picnic with Alex and the pets. Laughter echoing off concrete. At 38, I felt the pull of midlife's mirror-faint grays threading my temples. Laugh lines mapping joys, but Elias's gaze still sparked. His touch a reminder that time honored rather than hurried us. The year's first ripple came in February. Valentine's shadowed by a national shadow. A Supreme Court case challenging marriage equality's reach. Whispers of reversal chilling spines. Elias, semi-retired but unretiring in spirit, joined amicus briefs. His op-ed in The Stranger igniting debates. Not again. He wrote. We won't let them unwrite our vows. I illustrated the peace couple silhouetted against gavel cracks going viral. Petitions surging. Alex, now 20, designed protest graphics. Our home a hive of purpose. March brought bloom amid thorns. My studio collective launched with a show, Intersections. Works probing race. Gender. Love's overlaps. Opening night. Diverse crowds mingled, Elias's law colleagues. Lena's activist friends. Even Sarah and her family. Her toddler finger painting a wall. Full circle. She whispered. Hugging me. Sales-funded scholarships. Alex's pride beaming as their piece sold first. Spring's warmth coaxed us outdoors. We revived van adventures. This time east to the Palouse. Rolling hills waving golden. Camped under vast skies. Elias traced constellations. Voice soft. Remember when stars scared me? Too big for my secrets. I pulled him close by the fire. Now they're ours to name. Alex opted for city stays, but sent selfies with whiskers. Independence budding. Summer 2026 sizzled with solidarity. Pride Evolveless Parade. More policy push our float, a mobile clinic for queer health. Elias moderated panels on reproductive justice post-row. I sketched live, capturing raw testimonies. A heckler hurled slurs. Alex shielded a speaker, earning cheers. Post-event. Exhausted but electric. We collapsed in the van. High-fiving. Team unbreakable. Elias quipped. But July tested that. Elias's pressure spiked again, mandating meds and mindfulness. A scare chest pains during a hike landed him in urgent care. EKG clear, but warning blaring. In the sterile wait. Holding his hand. Fear clawed, echoes of dad. Jamal. Promise me. I murmured. We prioritize us. He nodded. Eyes fierce. Deal. No heroes. Just husbands. August healed. We jetted to Hawaii, first real vacation, beaches lulling worries. Snorkels revealing coral worlds. Luau's laughed away tensions. Elias's hula attempts comedy gold. Back tanned and tethered. We instituted sanctuary Sundays. No work. Just us brunch. Books. Bodies entwined in lazy affirmation. Fall harvested heartaches and hopes. Max passed in September, gentle in sleep, buried under our apple tree with his favorite ball. Grief washed in waves. Alex carved a memorial stone. Elias recited a poem. Echo and whiskers curled closer. Comforters furry. Work surged, my collective expanded. Elias's memoir deal signed. Alex's first gallery solo, Roots Rewoven, drew raves. Us in front row. Tears proud. Thanksgiving. We hosted hybrid, mom grand in person. Dad's old friends via Zoom. Sharing Oregon tales. Toasts to absences. Abundances. Uncle Ray drove up. Bearing pie in progress. Church's starting ally group. You're doing. Hugs hearty. Winter 2026 twinkled tentative. Solstice circle with chosen kin. Candles flickering stories. New Year's. We volunteered at a shelter. Serving queer youth faces familiar from center days. Now giving back. Fireworks popped. Resolutions whispered. Deepen. Not just endure. 2027 accelerated arcs. Elias's book released to acclaim. Tours tandem with mine. Alex graduated. Speech thanking the dads who mapped my mess to magic. We beamed. Empty nesters nesting in new travel dreams. Perhaps Europe. Spring brought surprise, Lena pregnant. Us uncles to be. Baby shower sketches from me. Legal trusts from Elias. Summer. Van to National Park's Yellowstone geysers mirroring inner steams. Dialogues deepening on legacy, kids. No. But mentorships multiplying. Fall. A client crisis, elder denied care for lifestyle. Elias suing. Me fundraising via art drops. When bittersweet. But precedent powerful. Holidays fused fuller. Ray's family joining. Toasts to evolving together. 2028. Midlife milestone Elias's 43rd. My 40th conjoined bash. Friends roasted our van lore. Cake etched with keys. Gifts, a restored van plaque. Secret keepers. Challenges crested, health scares minor. Bands local but battled. Alex's engagement to a poet. Ceremony hours to host. Pride 2028. Intergenerational march. Stories chaining. By 2029. Weed authored curricula for schools queer history illustrated. Van retired fully. Museum bound for center. Beliefs. Refined, love not conquest. But conversation eternal. In quiet moments. Elias's head on my chest. I trace his pulse, steady. Shared. That day in the rain. Catalyst. Not conclusion. We believed in roads remade. Secrets to symphonies. Lives laced with light. The tapestry of 2030 wove threads finer than ever. Our lives a deliberate design where every snag became stitch. Every fade a fresh dye. At 42. The mirror showed a man who'd claimed his canvas bin at Hayes. Artist. Advocate. Husband beside Elias. 45. Whose silver-flecked beard only amplified his gravitas. Fremont's home. Expanded with a sunroom studio. Hummed with history, walls lined with our evolving art. Shelves sagging under awards and Alex's pottery. January's chill carried a commission, illustrating a UNESCO report on global queer resilience. Elias Consulting. Research trips to archives unearthed gems letters from Stonewall survivors. Parallels to our van vigil. History's a relay. Elias mused over maps. We're just the current leg. February thawed with family. Lena's baby, little Kai, arrived squalling. Us uncles doting via video then visit. His tiny fist gripped my finger. Eyes wide miracle of continuity. Ray's ally group hosted a workshop. We spoke. Q&A gentle grapples yielding growth. You changed us. A teen said. Elias squeezed my hand under the table. Mutual. Spring 2030 bloomed collaborative. My collective partnered with Elias's Foundation for Visible Verdicts, an exhibit touring museums, art meeting law and dialogues on identity. Opening in Portland. Rain slick but receptive. Drew Dad's Old Townies. Some tearful apologies for past silences. Sarah keynote. Her path intertwined. Ben's courage cracked my world open too. Summer's heat-fueled festivals. Van. Polished relic. Headlined a Pride Museum float narrating our tale via audio. Crowds cheered. Alex emceeing. Kai in a tiny rainbow onesie. Post-parade. Beach bonfire with kin. Stories spiraling. Jamal's memory honored in toasts. Tyler visiting from afar. Hugs healing half-lives. But August augured ache. Elias's pressure. Managed. Masked arrhythmia routine, check flagging irregular beats. Cardiologist ordered monitors. Lifestyle tweaks. Not now. He grumbled. But complied, meditation apps. Trail runs hand in hand. Fear familiar. We leaned into legacy updating wills. Endowing scholarships. For the runners after us. I said. Sketching heart monitors as halos. September's softened blows. Alex's wedding in October, poet partner Jordan. Ceremony lakeside. We walked them down the aisle. Vows echoing ours, through veils and victories. Reception danced till dawn. Our speech, love's not a solo. It's symphony. Tears. Toasts. Transcendence. Fall 2030 harvested honors. Elias knighted by a queer rights org metaphoric sword tap me, following with a MacArthur nod for narrative justice. Funds seated a retreat center, Van Haven. Cabins for artists and activists healing. Thanksgiving. Multi-gen feast, Kai toddling. Ray carving. Zoom ghost benevolent. Pies piled. Gratitude game revealing, for the secret that set us free. Winter's hush hosted reflection. Solstice ritual evolved now, with Kai's first candle. Stories scripted for posterity. New Year's. Shelter shift turned celebration. Youth gifting us drawings, future selves. Van Eternal. 2031 Quicken Quests. Elias's second book. On intersectional law. Co-authored with Alex Genius Bridging. My illustrations animated for VR experiences. Immersing in queer epics. Spring tour abroad, London. Berlin panels packed. Hands held publicly. No flinch. Summer. Van Haven Open Driven Cut by Elders Weed Podcast. Cabins nestled woods. Plaques here. Secrets become stories. Retreats filled. Feedback flooding. Found my voice. Fall crisis. Climate floods hit Seattle. Homes submerged. Ours spared but center damaged. We rallied fundraisers. Rebuild Cruise Elias coordinating aid. Me designing resilient blueprints. Alex led Youth Brigade. Jordan pinning anthems. Solidarity surged. Losses mourned communally. Holidays healed. Kai's first snowman. Ray's group caroling. 2032 dawned determined policy pushes for eco-justice queer lens. Midyear. Health harmony. Elias's heart steadied. Our runs rhythmic. Pride 2032. Hybrid global stream. Van hologram centerpiece. Alex's first child announced at surrogacy journey hours to support. Grandpa's. Elias grinned. Me sketching nurseries. By 2033. Legacy layered. Van Haven expanded. Books and curricula. Us graying gracefully. Challenges. Bans ebbed. But bigotry's morphed AI biases we coded against. In Twilight Talks. Elias's breath even. That day changed everything. I smile us. Beliefs. Burnished, love. The infinite edit. Ever evolving. 2034 marked a meridian. Our story's arc bending toward zenith. Lives luminous with the patina of persistence. 46 now. My sketches bore the wisdom of weathering lines looser. Colors bolder while Elias. 49. Moved with a statesman's stride. His advocacy a lighthouse for latecomers. The Fremont sunroom. Our sanctum. Overflowed. Alex's grandbaby photos pinned beside UNESCO plaques. Kai's crayon masterpieces mingling with MacArthur citations. January's frost framed a fellowship, joint residency at Van Haven. Us, elders and residents. Mornings mentored Elias on ethics. Me on expression afternoons wandered trails. Hands linked. Residents. Diverse dreamers. Shared fireside. A trans engineer from Texas. A bi-poet from Brazil. Your van. One asked. We laughed, the spark that lit the fire. February's thaw welcomed grandparenthood. Alex's child. River. Arrived at side. Tiny cries conquering cab fears. Hospital vigil. Elias pacing. Me sketching first breaths. Homecoming haze, diaper dashes. Lullabies layered with love. Kai. 5. Dubbed himself Big Cousin. Bossing with benevolence. Spring 2034 sprouted sequoias. My VR project premiered at SXS Immersive Journeys through queer timelines. Elias narrating. Feedback flooded, felt seen across centuries. Funds rebuilt the center. Greener. Grander. Summer's symphony soared. Pride Internationalis virtual headliners. Van Lore localized for global audiences. Van Haven's first global cohort arrived. Cultures colliding in cabins. One night, under meteor shower, a resident confessed, your story gave me mine. Elias teared, that's the verdict. August anchored us. Elias's checkup glowed Greenheart humming harmony. We celebrated with a micromoon, just us. Hot air balloon over the sound. World shrinking to whispers. 40 years from the van. He marveled. I kissed him, and counting constellations. Fall's foliage framed family. River's baptism secular. Splashy united clans, Lena's crew. Ray's reformed. Sarah's circle. Toast's toasted ties, to branches from the same root. Alex's speech, you taught us love leaves room. Thanksgiving tableau, tables tripled. Kai leading grace. River gurgling glee. Ray's prayer progressive, for all gathered in grace. Winter 2034 wove wonders. Solstice scaled Van Haven pilgrimage. Global kin converging. New Year's. We authored a time capsule, letters to future selves. Van Keys symbolic. 2035 quickened quanta. Elias's foundation federated satellites in 10 states. My collective curated MoMA, Threads of Us. Alex directed a doc, Van Echoes. Oscar buzz. Spring floods revisited. But resilient, Van Haven's berms held. Community converging. Summer. River's first steps on our lawn. Elias catching. Me capturing. Fall. A found family fracture. A resident's suicide. Ripples raw. We rallied memorials. Policy pushes for mental health mandates. Grief grieved. Growth germinated. Holidays healed higher. Kai school play. River's coups. Ray officiating a wedding his nephew's queer union. 2036. Half-century for Elias Bash epic. Van Parade float. My 48th. Quiet Canvas quest. Pride 2036. AI avatars marching beside us future fused. Challenges, digital divides. We bridged with code camps. By 2037. Grandkids galore Alex's second. Lena's second. Beliefs. Crystallized love. The quantum constant. Entangling eternally. In starlit silences. Elias murmurs. Everything changed that day. I affirm, for the better. Always. The horizon of 2040 gleamed with the polish of perseverance. Our narrative a North Star for navigators navigating the nuanced now. At 50. My frame filled with the fullness of fulfillment Bennett Hayes. Elder artist. Eternal optimist paired with Elias. 55. Whose presence commanded quiet command. Wisdom won through wars weathered. Our Fremont Haven. Heritage listed. Breathed legacy. Sunroom shelves sagging with sequels. Walls whispering of weddings witnessed. Wisdom's wrought. January 2040 iced an invitation. UN panel on human rights. Us as co-chairs. Prep pulsed with purpose. Elias drafting declarations. Me visualizing violations to victories. Virtual vigils with global youth. Their queries quickening. How'd you hold on? Elias's reply. Each other. February's fire warmed with River's 4th birthday chaos of cake and chase. Kai. 9. Directing games. Grandparent glee. Elias as storyteller. Me as prop master. Alex's film won Indie acclaim. Screening at Van Haventeers for The Tale Told True. Spring 2040 seated symphonies. My MoMA retrospective toured Haze. Hearts in Line. Elias curating companion texts. Openings overflowed. Jordan's poems recited. Lena's jazz trio jamming. A critic quipped, love's longest canvas. Summer solstice summoned souls. Pride planetary holographic parades. Van as virtual vessel. Van Haven hosted Harmony Fest. Cultures caroling convergence. One elder. 90. Shared. Your spark lit my sunset. We bowed. Mutual moonrise. August affirmed vitality. Elias's heart. Heroic. Halved Medsioga yielding yields. We voyaged Viking style. Fjord cruise Norway. Northern lights nodding narratives. Like our aurora. Elias poeticized. Me sketching skies. False fanfare framed family. Rivers school playtiny troll triumphus front row fools. Thanksgiving transnational. Zoom from abroad. Kai's turkey tail topping tables. Ray. Retired reverend. Blessed blends. Winter 2040 wove warmth. Solstice scaled stellar capsule opened early. Letters laughing at fears faded. New Year's. Neuralinked toast future flirting. 2041 innovated. Elias's Federation fractal AI ethics arm. Me illustrating interfaces inclusive. Alex's sequel doc. Echoes amplified. Spring storm steeled. Cyber attack on Van Haven. Data drained. We rebuilt blockchain secure. Bonds unbreakable. Summer. Rivers rainbow right first pride pint sized. Fall. Grandkid gala. Lena's twins tumbling. 2042. Elias's 57th sailing soiree. My 52nd. Mural marathon community canvas. Pride 2042. Quantum Quest VR vows renewed. Challenges, climate cascades. We countered with carbon-neutral collectives. By 2045. Legacies layered luminous. Van Haven villages worldwide. Books bedrock and bylaws. Grandkids 5 now gaggle around the replica van. Demanding the secret story. In Vesper vigils. Elias's voice velvet. That day redefined us. I echo. Into eternity.
We need to lose them now. I'm trying. Hang on tight.